Boom covers halftime live game 4 of divisional weekend. The Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs locked in at a 14-14 tie. And I will say, after that Rams Buccaneers finish, this game with all the excitement, all the hype has kind of been a little bit slow moving. I think like how you feel and how you're watching it, but I'm going to have a very different opinion on what's going to happen in the second half. But just quickly, to talk about both of these two teams before we get into some of the numbers and some of the markets. I mean, this is as clear of an example as what we've heard referenced down the stretch as the Kansas City Chiefs evolving into a different offense. When these two teams played in the week 5, week 6 of the regular season, the Chiefs were very much still the team we knew from a year ago. They were aggressive. They were throwing downfield. They were trying to make big plays happen. As the season has progressed, especially in the second half of the season, we've seen the Chiefs get much more patient, take everything that's underneath, take what the defense is giving them, and have these long extended drives with multiple plays that chew up 5, 6, 7 minutes of the clock. And that's very much what they did in both of their touchdown drives against the Buffalo Bills within this game. 12 plays for 86 yards, 11 plays for 74 yards. And they're really moving the football efficiently against a Leslie Frazier defense that sits back and plays very soft. And what we've seen from Patrick Mahomes in this game is his ability to use his legs. That rushing prop pregame got bet up substantially, and he has been running around in the pocket because these guys are covered downfield and just been able to make things happen with his legs. But I think as we get towards the end of this first half, especially on this last drive, we saw the Bills starting to change a little bit defensively, starting to creep up a little bit further, get a little bit more aggressive in coverage. And that's really allowed the Chiefs to get a little bit more space from their receivers down the field. On the other side of the ball, this was Spagnuolo coming into this game being his aggressive self. And we're seeing that countered with Brian Daboll being his aggressive self too. Early on in this game so far, it's been a heavy rate of first down passes for Josh Allen. He's been using his legs on designed runs in high leverage situations. And the Bills have had very little issue moving the football down the field either. And so while this game has been a little bit drawn out because both offenses have taken what the other defense is really giving them, I think a lot of that is going to change within the second half. And I think the biggest change in the second half we're going to see from the first half is an increased pace based on urgency. So to start the game, both of these teams clearly came in and executed the script and the game plan that they had to perfection. 2 relatively long touchdown drives that worked their way down the field. And then we had sort of funky field position that kind of kept KC pinned in their end zone, gave it back to Buffalo, and it caused a bit of that second quarter lull. But then we saw towards the end of the second quarter, both of these teams started with good field position, and they were able to get back into their offense, and they both went up and down the field to score a touchdown each. Surprisingly, I think to some, was the Bills and the Chiefs only had 4 true possessions each in that first half. It was relatively a slow-playing game. In the second half, I think we see at least 10 possessions between these two teams. And I don't believe that the defense, unless again aided by odd field position, is going to have success on either side of the football, keeping these offenses out of the end zone. So I'm looking at it where I think the pace is going to be quicker. I think there's going to be more urgency on both of these teams to move the football, especially as we get into the fourth quarter. But with those extra possessions, I don't think the defense is stepping up. So I bet the pregame over at 53.5, and I have zero concerns about that coming through in the second half whatsoever. We're seeing a very high 27.5 for the second half total shaded to the under. It's the biggest second half total we've seen in the playoffs, and the first time we've seen a game close to that 28 in the second half in several weeks. But I think we can do better than that. So rather than looking at the second half total at 27.5, go to the in-play tab at your book, go to the alternate for total points, and let's go, if we're looking at 10 possessions, I think we'll see a score on at least 7 of the 10. I'm not saying that's a touchdown every single drive, but I think we'll get 4 touchdowns, potentially 5, and a couple of field goals. So we're at 28 now. If I'm looking at this, we go over 28 and 35. That'll get 62.5 over. So let's go over 62.5 alternate total over for the game, plus 300, 3-1 odds. And I'm pretty comfortable with that. I think this game flies over the opening total or the closing total for the full game. And I think here is an alternate. You can play it into the 60s. I think this is a game that can push into the 70s. Again, I think we're seeing 10 possessions. I think we're seeing scores on 7 of the 10. And if you get 5 touchdowns, you're getting over this total here. If you get a couple more, you're obviously getting into the 70s. I think that's certainly in play too. But I think both of these offenses are not going to get stopped. They're going to continue to have a lot of success moving the football. And we're going to see that increased pace. And if there's a little bit of urgency on either side, we're going to see this game open up in a hurry. So this one's flying over the total. And I'm happy to take my stance on my original position on the game and be happy with it, but I'm happy to play the alternate here and take on a little bit more. So I'll go the adjusted full game over from the in-play lines, over 62.5 plus 300 as this game plays its way up to threaten more than 70 points. That'll do it for me and the divisional weekend. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern on Covers Daily. If you've enjoyed the content throughout the weekend, if you've enjoyed the halftime shows, the Covers Daily last week, hit subscribe below. You'll get a notification when we go live tomorrow. We'll have Rob Pizzola on to talk about everything that he saw transpire this weekend, and we'll get into some early thoughts on the conference championship games. Enjoy the second half. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern.